common psychological issues that get in our way. Who Cares About Polar Bears will also look at how we can hack our brains to start making more environmentally conscious decisions. And to tell us more about it are the hosts of the show, married actors Edward Choi and Joe Tan. Ed and Joe, welcome both of you. Good to have you on with us this morning. Tell us then what you learned while doing the show.
I think we found out that both of us do care about polar bears, but I mean, we definitely perhaps don't care enough. So we think of ourselves pretty much as green warriors. Like I am pretty adamant that I only buy thrifted clothing, secondhand clothing from different outlets. And Ed is also very staunch about turning off the air conditioning whenever he can. But definitely we found out that there's so many barriers to entry for us when it comes to doing what needs to be done as well. Like whenever we can, we default to hiring private hire vehicles. We could really do so much more. So some of the psychological theories that we learned about helped us to justify, okay, why is it that we are not acting on what we know about climate change? And we talked about things like construal level theory, hyperbolic discounting, bystander effect, and in-group, out-group theory.
Okay, that sounds very abstract. How does the show discuss these ideas, Ed?
So the great thing about this is that we had some really good, very, very, very clever experts who were able to come in and talk about them in a very simple, very engaging way. And together with them, we devised a few experiments and activities to demonstrate how they work. And so through them, the audience can see how you can hack these cognitive biases. So for example, for Joe, she did a survey at a cafe to demonstrate how hyperbolic discounting works. So Joe, can you want to talk a bit about your hyperbolic discounting experiment?
Yeah. In fact, yeah, why don't we show a little bit of a clip about that little video?
If I were to show you these two coffees, which one do you think you'd be more inclined to go for?
I'll choose the cheaper option. Of course, I will pick the $4 cup.
So this is a $4 cup of coffee, but it has a higher carbon footprint. This one is $6, but it has a lower carbon footprint. And if you get 5 of these coffees, you get a free mug. So which one do you think you would normally go for?
I'll go with the $6 per cup.
It depends on how the mug looks like.
Oh, I see.
If it's nice, then I don't mind going for this.
Climate change may make Singapore unlivable for unborn generations. 10 is most important to you, 1 is least important to you. I made some tweaks to the scenarios. Let's try this again. Climate change may make Singapore unlivable in 20 years. Once again, 10 most important to you, 1 least important to you.
I'm really fascinated to know all the results from all these experiments you've been doing. Tell us, Joe, how do you bring all this back to climate action on the ground?
Yeah, so we managed to speak to different companies and individuals as well about how they've managed to hack these cognitive biases. So if we know that there are these barriers in our brains that are stopping us from acting on what we know, how can we then maybe change the environment around us, change the people that we talk to, or just try to hack our own thinking so that we do act on what is important? So they talked to us about a lot of different things, and we spoke to Wu Qiyun, who is actually this amazing person. She's the creator behind the popular Instagram page, The Weird and Wild, so many followers, and using these super cute drawings and comic style presentations, she makes things a lot more accessible. So there's no longer this psychological distance about climate change. You immediately start to understand it, and that brings home the message is close to us, it's important, it's not just something we can forget about because it's in the distant future. So I think that's one of the ways that we were able to kind of bring home the message. But you know what, enough talking from me, maybe let's hear from Qiyun as well.
I think the response has been really good in the last 2 years. Perhaps it's due to the pandemic, but I like to attribute that to increased awareness about climate change, or at least interest. So I've had a lot of responses where, it's just people liking, sharing, but even contributing. So sometimes people will ask, can you talk about this issue? Or can I tell you more about something that I just learned? So from that, I feel like I've built an online community on Instagram of sorts.
I think that's incredible. So what do you think this says about the need to reframe the narrative when it comes to something like climate change?
Yeah, I like to think that climate change is complex, but there's no need to oversimplify that content, and the main aim of the page is really to make complex things more interesting, more visual, more aesthetically pleasing. And the fact that people take to that really goes to show that we don't need the content that goes 3 things to save the world, we just need complex things told better. So hopefully, with more people understanding this, they will gain a better appreciation of how interconnected everything is and maybe take action in a more informed way.
I've got to check out her account.